Mae Krier, an original Rosie the Riveter, was born in 1926 in North Dakota. After the bombing of Pearl Harbor, Mae, her sister, and a friend headed to Seattle, Washington, where Mae became a riveter for Boeing, making B-17s and B-29s for 92 cents an hour. She met Norm, her late husband, a sailor, on the dance floor in 1944. Norm was transferred to Pasco, Washington, and in April 1945 they married. She left Boeing to work for the Army Engineers with Italian prisoners of war in Pasco at 83 cents an hour. Eventually, they settled in Pennsylvania, where they raised their 2 children and where Mae still resides today. Mae joined other Rosies to get the first National Rosie the Riveter Day in 2017 and the Congressional Gold Medal for Rosie in 2020. During the pandemic, through her Facebook page, Honor Rosie, Mae, with the help of companies, groups, and individuals, made and mailed over 6,000 red and white polka dot face masks. 5,000 masks went directly to her Honor Rosie followers. In 2022, her face mask and bandana were worn by Rosie the Rocketeer in the commander's seat of the Boeing Starliner, which traveled to the International Space Station and back. Mae continues to travel the world to promote Rosie the Riveter's legacy. And at 97 years, Mae still cuts her own grass. Now it's time to join Breaking Barriers. Hi, Mae.
Good morning, Deb. How you doing today?
I'm good. How you doing?
Good. We're glad to have Marie and radio, and I haven't talked to Marie in a long time.
That's right. So today we're going to talk about World War II reenactors. And I just say, if you have the opportunity to go to a World War II reenactment weekend, go, because you're going to learn so much. So we'll bring out our guests today. Reg Worth is president of the Military Living History Association, and Marie Cherry is secretary and treasurer. Welcome.
Hi.
Thank you.
So we're going to start out with, why did you decide to start a 501c3, Marie?
Well, we initially had been a fundraiser for a state park, and then I decided that we should start our own, and it's 100% volunteer organization, and we wanted to distribute the profits to the military community at our, how we felt it was necessary. And we wanted to educate the public, especially the younger community, because what you would see at a World War II weekend, you cannot get in a classroom.
True.
And we wanted to portray that the veterans had a lot of hardships. They had a lot of courage, and they sacrificed a lot just for our freedoms. And that needed to be out there. And especially we honored the World War II veterans. And I especially enjoyed it because my son and I were passionate, because my dad was a World War II veteran, and he was in the 284th Signal Pigeon Company. He was a pigeoneer, and he would talk about it. So we even had that involved in that, but it was a great event. And I can't tell you, there's other events out there, but you really need to go with your family to actually see what they display out there, and all the military vehicles and the guest speakers. I mean, we had World War II veterans, and we had a lot of them. I'm sure most of them have passed on now, but just to hear their stories and honoring them no matter how much work it was, I was just so happy just to talk to them. And they were the greatest generation. That's all I can say.
That's true.
But that's why we did it. So,
So did you start out right away with the weekends, or did you do other events?
No, we did the World War II weekend. We started in 2012. We stopped in 2019 because of COVID. So we're not doing them right now. But what we are doing is the Soldiers Christmas. And we usually have it around November and December. And we collect for present day military, for their families, and to overseas. And we do that for the 111th Attack Wing here at the Horsham National Guard Base.
Okay.
And so we have a list of the products on our website, which is www.2weekend.org, and also on our website, not website, excuse me, Facebook, Roman numbers 2 weekend at Horsham. But we continue to do that even through COVID. We were not going to stop because our soldiers weren't stopping. So we make sure we give them as much stuff as we could, people dropping them off.
So how did you meet Mae? What was the first time you met Mae?
Well, I met Mae. I was reading a newspaper article and I saw this lady about Rosie the Riveter, and I'm looking at her and I'm like, wow, this lady is really, something. And I went through the newspaper. They contacted her. Mae called me. And I said, Mae, I do World War II weekends. I would love to have you out as a guest at our event to speak, because we used to have, guest speakers and so forth. And she said, sure, I would love to come out. And she came out with her little poster board with an airplane on it and some writing. And she talked to people in the big tent we had, and everybody was just so happy. They were asking me about her, and she was just amazing, absolutely amazing. And there's the poster.
Yeah, there's the pictures that we had.
She added on to it. Yeah, she added on to it, and that's how I met her, all through a newspaper article. And she came every year to our event, and I'm trying to get her to come to Soldiers Christmas, but she's so big. I can't get her out there anymore. I lost her. But
these pictures are from the Medal of Honor Grove in Valley Forge on the campus of Freedom's Foundation. And Mae, the first one you saw was Mae with the guys with the foxholes, right?
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah, there they are.
There they are. So let's talk about some of these pictures. Go ahead, Brandy. You can start rolling them.
Oh, Alex.
A Pearl Harbor survivor.
Yeah.
Yes. When I was in Pearl Harbor for the 80th celebration, I placed roses in the water for Alex. He was such a gentleman. I did so many different shows. He was either there, we did them together. It's just amazing, and people that pass through your life, how you love and honor.
Yes.
And he was one of them.
Yes, he was. He was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He loved riding in the Jeep around the Freedom's Foundation.
I used to say to him at the end of the program, Alex, are we going to go out and jitterbug tonight?
Yeah, he didn't miss a trick. When that event was there, he was involved in just about everything. Oh. Amazing.
Next picture.
Yes,
oh, this is the rose between two thorns.
Yep, there we are.
There we are.
And Mae.
Yep. Yeah. That's how I met Mae, was at your at one of your weekends. That's how I met her and how I got involved in all of this.
Yeah. Yeah, they were a lot of fun. A lot of work, but a lot of fun.
Next.
Marie, did I tell you the story of that when I met them? She'd come around the corner and I said, boy, there's the lady with the prettiest smile. And we just become good friends. And when my mask went viral, she called me and she says, Mae, can I help you? She never knew what she was getting into, Marie. I worked her fingers to the bone.
Yeah,
she's great with me. And then she put on Honor Rosie, which is really shout out to the skies with the I think, Deb, how many followers do we have on Honor Rosie?
We have 5.7K followers.
Wow.
Yeah. And actually, when I met Mae, I contacted my friend and he started Honor Rosie. And then the COVID came, and then we moved on with the congressional gold medal. So it all started from your reenactment, Marie. That's where our association started.
The first one I did with you, Marie, was out on 611, or what was that, Hatboro? There was
Horsham. That was
Yeah.
Horsham. Yeah, that's where you.
And
That's
that
where
was
you
also
first started.
and that was also the first one I actually watched the men do the reenacting, and I loved it. I mean, people got to get out there and learn about our history and watch what these people do. I know you're familiar with Roth and John, her husband. I've traveled a lot with them at different times, and I just love what you all do. I just think it's fantastic. More people should get out and follow you. And Reggie, I just think it's great the way you men come out and I'll help support what you've done during the war. You know, the average person would pass you on the street and never know what you did for our country. And it has to be told. And that's where it's so important to come out and do that.
So now we have some questions for Reg, because you are a reenactor. So tell us why you are.
The reasons why people reenact are very numerous. So I'm going to speak for myself. Actually, to be honest, I was kind of selfish when I got into it. I did it because my son brought a book home from school one day, the title of which was "The Things They Carried in Their Pockets." And I looked at that title, and I'd been interested in military history. I said, I knew a lot about military history, but I didn't really know the things they carried in their pockets. And the only way you can find that out is start doing what they did on a regular type basis. And that's how I got into reenacting. It's why I got into it, was to educate myself about the way they actually did things. Why into World War II? Well, when I grew up, everybody's dad had been in the war, including mine. And it was just a natural thing. I had half of what I needed to start reenacting already out in my garage in Foot Lockers. Yeah. I had I had 3 uncles that served in the war. My father, my wife had 6 uncles that served in the war, but they served on the other side. Had a very varied background when it came to World War II. And so I say it led into learning a whole lot more, and then the ability to educate others. Once I was satisfied that my education level was high enough that I could do that, became extremely rewarding with it.
What kind of expense goes with that? I've seen you have quite a few young people that are involved.
Yes, and it can be expensive to get into it, but in some ways it's an investment. Your most single expensive piece for an individual would be the weaponry. Well, they don't get less expensive as time goes on.
Right.
Right now, if I were to sell my weaponry, I would probably have doubled my money on it, and it would have been enough. The increase would have been enough to pay for everything else that I've worn out or destroyed in my reenacting career.
Mhm.
Uh,
Where do you get the equipment and kits? Are there stores or?
there's flea markets. Believe it or not, a lot of my stuff came out of garages because of when I got involved. A lot of people, a lot of the veterans were of an age where they were where they were downsizing, and there were a lot of garage sales and things like that. There are shops that specialize in reproduction uniforms, reproduction equipment, which at this stage of the game is probably the best route for someone getting involved in, is to use the reproduction stuff, because the original stuff is getting to be expensive. Plus, you're talking about 80-year-old cloth
Mhm.
that doesn't always hold up when you put it on. I mean, I've actually, most of my equipment and things that I use is original equipment.
And Reggie, you can't put a price on anything compared to what it's doing for you physically and mentally. You can't
This
put a
is
price
true.
on that.
You really can't. You can't price the education, the enjoyment, the camaraderie that develops, meeting extremely wonderful people like Mae. I met all of the surviving band of brothers. When that program was actually still being aired for the first time, in fact, I found out I actually worked in the same neighborhood as two of them. One of the members of our group worked with two of the band of brothers and knew them quite well. But I've met a lot of interesting people in my time as a reenactor. A lot of veterans over my years. As I say, I grew up in a neighborhood in Philadelphia where we had, I believe there was only one man who was not physically capable of being in the service. Everybody else in my neighborhood was a veteran. My brother and I had a collection of shoulder patches. We had every single division that was in the Army in World War II, every Marine Corps shoulder patch, and we had a lot of Navy stuff, Navy squadron insignias that went on the back of their jackets and stuff. And we never bought anything. It was always, we saw a guy going to work and he had on his old Army shirt and we didn't have the patch. Hey, mister, can I have that patch? And the guys would tear them off and give them to you.
I know.
I mean,
So how is the hobby organized?
it's organized into individual clubs. This is one of the hardest parts of the hobby. We have the authentic living history. We sponsor an event, so therefore we're going to be the command. We're going to organize that event. We're going to say, whose unit's doing what club is portraying, what part of the action or something like that.
And we had all kinds of units that came in. We had the Australian Army, we had Bulgaria, we had Russia, we had Polish, we had British. I mean, we had so many different countries, even Chinese
and Norwegian.
Yeah, and just to come to our event and display what they had, and which was wonderful. Even the Women's Army we had, Land Army they called it.
Yeah.
And
That's so interesting, Marie, because when I go with Stacy and John, you know who I'm speaking about. I never remember John's
Yeah, I
last
know.
name too well. Well, they always invite me to their camp, and the guys always talk to me in Russian. I have to laugh. I always get a kick out of that. And for you, Reg, getting back to the uniforms, it's amazing how many different equipments. Now, John and Stacy, I swear John's got a lot more uniforms than Stacy. I think their closet's full because every reenactment is different. And it's just fascinating. I said, John, you have a better wardrobe than Stacy's. But it's so fascinating. I'll tell you, you have to see it to realize, to get involved. Just look about Washington Crossing when they cross the Delaware. What a crowd that brings up. People, they're interested in history, and that is great. I think it's wonderful what you do.
And do you when you do this, when you have a weekend, about how many? I know I used to know this number. How many people are involved in it?
It varies greatly.
The last event, 200.
Yes.
Okay.
Wow.
I have done events with thousands, and I've done events with dozens.
Right.
So it does vary. But as Mae was saying, it is very rewarding, and it does keep the history alive. I become very surprised with a lot of the young people, how you can see the light go off on their face when they begin to absorb what you're telling them about things, and how they never really thought of things the way they are. I also sometimes get surprised at how some of the people who should know better don't. When they ask you things, or you're standing there, you're wearing a World War II uniform, and somebody says, "Are you the guy that crosses the Delaware every year?"
Right. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So I have another question.
Marie, let me ask Marie
Go ahead.
something. Marie, when I see you at these programs, you're just so busy. You're just running in circles. I can't even imagine how much work you have before you even get to programs. I don't think people realize how much work is involved in what you do. You do it all for our country, for our history. And I think that's fabulous.
How long does it take, Marie, to organize a weekend?
Well, we end the beginning of May, and I start right after. No, actually, I start in June. It takes a year, at least a year, just about a year to plan it, and a 2-day event, and that's what it was. And a lot of sponsors, just organizing. You have to print the program, you have to contact the reenactors, you have to post it on the website. And then there's all different kinds of military vendors. It's just, I could go on, state representative. And another thing I would like to mention about our World War II weekend, on the second day into the event, we have what they call the funeral honors for the military. And my goal was to find a family that did not get a flag for their loved one, regardless of what war it was. And I would always try to find that family, and then they would bring me, they would talk to me, and I would set it up with representatives to speak at it, because it was basically like a memorial service is what it was. And then the honor guard would come in, and they would fold the flag for the family. And we also would have a 21 gun salute. And our local state representatives would read. We had like a luminary bag, I would call it. And on Saturday night, we would light it. And then there was a picture of the veteran on the outside of it. And we would light him. And then at the service, they would read all those names. So that was kind of my goal every year. And I can't tell you how many people said, oh my God, this is wonderful. We never had this. And I'll tell you that I used to cry every time for chaps, and Deb knows because she was standing right with me.
Yep,
And can I?
I just thought it was.
Can I that last picture
Yes.
where John's digging his hole? I remember you were so unlucky in those last couple of programs where it rained so hard, and we were down there. Deb and I were down with a bunch of this servicemen, and they were dug in a ditch. And the next morning when we got that, we left, so they drowned if they went in that ditch. And I just this picture, and I think of how his hole must have filled up during the rainstorm. So it's humor. It's sad because it spoiled your show, but you had bad luck for 2 years in a row that way, Marie.
Oh, terrible rains, rains. But we didn't stop because the show must go on.
And the war went on. The war went on no matter what the weather was.
That's right. That's right.
So, Reg, talk to us about what these pictures are we're seeing. This is from the middle of Honor Grove.
Okay. Currently, what's on the screen right now is there's two of the WC-54 ambulances. It's a 3/4 ton truck ambulance, which was the most common frontline ambulance used during the war. They were built by Dodge. In between those is the 1/4 ton truck, or what's commonly called a Jeep. And there's many a story as to why it's called a Jeep. And the vehicle, the last vehicle, the pickup truck looking vehicle, where they were specialty vehicles that weren't a whole lot of those built. And I'm trying to even remember. I believe they were Chevrolets. They were. It's a very rare vehicle. There were only maybe 24 or so actually built.
Wow.
Were they like the colonels and the majors would
not the command car. That's
something different. Okay.
Yeah, these were built as a sort of light duty weapons carrier. They carried a light crew served weapon. They were kind of a stopgap vehicle, and they were replaced by the ambulance vehicle, but it was differently configured. It wasn't the regular WC-51, 52 3/4 ton weapons carrier, which actually they're called WC, which does not stand for weapons carrier. It stands for wheeled combat vehicle. But they got the name weapons carrier from the initials WC on them.
Okay. So, Reg, we're gonna look at some more pictures, then you can tell us what these other pictures are.
All right, this is a kit display, and I'm having a tough time seeing. This actually, to me, looks like it's British Commonwealth equipment that's out there. Although I think
from
glove and hat, or baseball glove and bat. The two water bottles or canteens in the front are British water bottles, and of course the tent.
Mm-hmm.
The things they carried in their pockets. Well, this would be big pockets, but that's the type of stuff. This is all the personal kit items that a soldier, in this case, probably a Commonwealth, And since I see baseball, I'm going to say maybe a Canadian. It was
It
just
is.
the play
They
set
were
up.
the Canadian group, Reg. I remember that.
Yeah, these were the folks that came down from Ontario.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay. Next, Brandy. Okay, this is good.
All right. This is actually one of our displays. Showing a lot of the weaponry. You can see in the immediate foreground on the blanket setup. There's a model 1919 30 caliber light machine gun, a Browning automatic rifle. There's a rifle rack showing a couple of the long arms. Apparently, some of the guys must be out doing something with them. There's a whole display at the far end of just mess gear, the different mess kits and canteens that the United States went through during the war. And then the guys standing around in the different uniform items. The gentleman in the foreground is in a combination of, excuse me, Class D uniform, which is the fatigue work type uniform. It's a cotton twill. The gentleman he's talking to is in what would be called Class C uniform, which is the wool uniform. And basically, most of the people in the photo are in the wool uniform.
Okay.
All right.
Next picture.
That's the mess kit display. You can see on the top, it shows the different canteens. The Army progressed. The Army started out with an aluminum canteen and ended up with a stainless steel. As stainless steel technology, that people don't realize how rapid certain technologies developed during World War II. The use of stainless steel was not very common prior to World War II. By the end of the war, they were making a whole lot of things out of it, including the canteens. You have the mess cup, which fits together with the canteen and goes into the canteen case, which you can see on the back of the one fella that's standing with his back to you. Yeah. There's the eating utensils. And then down below is the actual mess kit. And this is a big progression. You may not notice it here, but it changed greatly. And this style of mess kits and canteen stayed in the canteen cup is still basically the same one. They changed the handle on it, but it's still being used. The canteen itself, they switched over to plastic right before the Vietnam War. And the mess kit stayed. It was the same mess kit, stayed in service up until the MREs came in which case you don't need a plate, because the MREs you eat those out of the pack they come in. On the board next to that are the different entrenching tools, the shovels and the pick. So that's basically what you have on this photo.
Okay.
Okay, here you have, well, number one is the Japanese flag.
Yeah.
Okay, being used as a tablecloth. Going from the viewer's left to the right is an axe. That little metal rectangular can that's actually a World War I item that was still being used. That is like a cracker can. It's to keep food items fresh. Then there's a camera, a high explosive hand grenade, a sea ration can, military screwdriver, wrench. Then through the center there is a series of wrenches, which you can see. The machete is the large knife at the bottom. And then we have what looks like, going from bottom to top, looks like a Browning automatic, a Colt. I'm going to say that's a 38. And the 45 automatic pistol, which the 1911, which was the standard. All three of those pistols were actually used by the Americans during World War II. The Browning was used by a lot of people on both sides, because John Browning was an American and made a lot of weapons, but his factories were in Europe and had been overrun by the Germans, so they used them. The British used them. My accountant, who was a World War II veteran, he had one, and he was an American. So,
Okay.
Okay, that's that photo.
So that brings me to, how do people it's the person's choice if they're going to be the enemy, right? And when
Correct.
you have reenactment.
As I say, that there's different reasons why people become reenactors, and there's different reasons why they choose. I know some choose because they just like the look of the uniform. Some choose because their uncle, their father, a member of their family had been in that unit that they're portraying. I did 2 World War II impressions. One is a U.S. GI Army, and the other is United States Marine Corps. I did Marine Corps because that's what I did it in remembrance of my father. I did not do it until after his passing. Then I started my Marine impression. But as to why somebody does, one of the main reasons that somebody might do the enemy, because I know myself, I have done the enemy, and it was simply because we didn't have anybody to shoot at, and we needed somebody.
We needed an enemy, right?
Yeah.
Because you do a battle. You do a battle, which is very interesting.
The battle,
Yeah.
Which actually most people, that's what they like. They like the battle reenactment. That's when the crowds would come out.
Yeah.
Marie, it's like your son. Is he a veteran, or does he just help you with your reenacting?
He just helps. He just helps.
He's wonderful. For me, you were so busy, and he was so helpful to me. Despite that,
he was very passionate.
And it was so nice day. Yes, and that day when you had it all set up, that day I was to speak, nobody came in or told me when or where, and I wasn't sure what to do. Stacy Roth just took over, and she started telling about, introduced me and started telling me what I do. And I thought that's so nice, because you reenactors are so good with each other. She carried the weight for you right at that moment, and I think that's so nice. And they invite me to go with them quite often, and you have such you get along so well, and you seem to enjoy it so much. You enjoy it together, and the public, of course, naturally it makes the public enjoy it more when you enjoy it like that.
And I had said that someone said to me at that one of the reenactments I was at, and they said, I just figured I'd come down here, and these guys just want to be a G.I. Joe for the weekend, but it's not about that. He said, they're really educating us, and this person really appreciated it. And that's why anybody out there listening, watching, if you ever get the opportunity, go, because you're going to learn so much, and you're going to be so even more proud of our military than you were before.
And we do learn. We really learn. There's not a day when we share with you that we don't learn something new.
I do I have my main hobby interest is military history. I do different aspects of it, collect military and things like that. Of the different groups that I'm come in contact with, the reenactors are actually the most educated in the overall. I mean, I may run into a guy that knows everything there is to know about a World War II bayonet, who made them, how many they made, and stuff like that, as a collector. But he doesn't know, anything about a USO show or something like that. The reenactors, they get involved not only in the military aspect of it, but the social aspect, the daily culture of the time period, which once again, that goes back to one of the reasons why I wanted to get involved in reenacting is to learn that aspects.
Well, even though I lived through and worked through World War II, Stacy Roth, she's very well educated. She knows more about World War II than I do. She teaches me about it. And you're never too old to learn. That's what people have got to realize.
I talked to a lot of vets. As I say, I grew up with them. When I first went to work, everybody I worked with was a World War II vet. All my father's friends and associates. My father was a military historian, so everybody that he was associated with was a World War II vet. And when I got into reenacting and I started to ask some of these gentlemen about things, I was surprised at some of the answers. I asked my father about the leggings, how you wore the leggings. His response to me was, "How the heck do I know? I was in the Marine Corps for 3 years, and I wore them twice." Yeah. So it's funny how guys, you ask them what was something called, and they give something like a Donald Duck hat. Well, that's not the right name. Mm-hmm. Well, that's what we called it. I don't know the name. Mm-hmm. So, and I know from my own experience in the service that we had things like that I couldn't tell you right now what the official government name for an item of issue was, but I could tell you what we called it in the barracks.
Well, what you all do is really, really important. And I know that you're not doing the overnight ones right now. So as we wrap up, tell me what events you do now. We're running your website on a banner underneath here. And for those who are listening, it's www.2weekend.org. So check out and tell us how this works now that you haven't done the overnight.
Well, we're doing the Soldiers Christmas. Usually it's already saved the date. It's on the website, November 23rd at the Horsham Community Center. And we'll be collecting again for the present day military and to their families. And it does get shipped overseas.
And those items are on your website?
Those items are on the website. And this Soldiers Christmas, not only we're collecting, this past year I had three World War II vets. 2 of them were 100. One was 99. And the spry as anything. They spoke. They were unbelievable. And I also have reenactors came to display. Only what we do for Soldiers Christmas, we have Rev War, Civil War, World War I, World War II, Korea, and Vietnam display. And we also had military vendors. So we packed this year. I was so happy. The community center. We just had so many people and so many reenactors, and it just felt so good because I hadn't done a World War II weekend in a while.
Right. And
it was just nice to see a lot of familiar faces again. And, if it gets too big, then we'll go outside and they can pitch a tent outside. But I continue to do that and help out. Like I said, it's the 111th Attack Wing National Guard base.
Okay.
And they are very appreciative. Yes.
Marie, I want to I want to thank you for inviting me to reenacting, but you do other things so well for me. You take me to Valley Forge. You do so many things. You're just such a great person to work with. And I really
Well,
want you to know I appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, I appreciate you working with me, and I'm so glad I got to meet you in my lifetime. You know,
Oh,
And I guess I thank you for
I
Yeah.
know.
meeting May, right?
yeah,
And Reg,
and I got to meet Reg
I'm
too.
glad to
so,
meet you.
It's
I'm
been,
glad to
been a
meet
pleasure
Reg.
meeting everyone. I've met a lot of wonderful people
Well, it was so funny
over the years.
that first day that I did Marie's program in Hatboro, was it?
yeah.
Anyway, there was a B-17 pilot at the end of the table. He had his uniform on. He was very reserved. I don't know if you remember him or not. But he didn't socialize with us. Well, we were talking all day with our posters and, just having a good time. He was very reserved. But at the end of the day, before we were leaving, he says, "She made him and I flew him."
Well, I'm trying to think who that was.
Might have been the calendar guy. I'm not sure.
I remember that so well. It's funny how you remember little things. But it was a nice day.
I remember him. One of my uncles flew in 17s during the war, and another one of my uncles was a flight surgeon during the war, so he was with the 9th Air Force.
Okay.
But
I want to congratulate May for the driving force getting that gold congressional medal.
yes, congratulations.
I'm so proud of it. I'm just told that I'm going to receive it symbolically for the 65 million women that Rosies that helped build save World War II. That's such a nice honor. So,
Yeah, well,
It is. You
you
deserve
and
it.
all the Rosies deserve it. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And,
Well, listen, May, do you have anything else to say to them before we wrap up?
whether we could talk all night.
Yeah.
One of the things that I treasure about your groups, you never know where you're going to go or what you're going to do. Stacy and John invited me to go on to the John Brown Liberty ship with them for the weekend. And that's out of Baltimore. You're familiar
Right.
with the tour. Well, it was such a treat for me because my husband had been in the Navy during the war. And he used to talk about the ship, the bulkhead, this and that. I didn't know what he was talking about. That night, as I laid there in that ship and seen and heard all that went on, it's just like it brought my life back, with the story of the war. This is so important. If people just get out there and open their eyes and listen, there's so much in life if they just get out there to enjoy it.
yeah.
That's
And
true.
so that's thank you, because you not just do one location, you do so many things. You're different groups and you just do so many things together, and I think it's so nice.
Camaraderie is very much part of
It is.
doing it.
I got to visit at the Reading Air Show. I got to visit all the camps. It was a lot of fun.
Well, listen, we really, really appreciate you coming on. We encourage people to go to the website, see what they can donate, and you collect it at the event, correct? They bring their stuff to your event.
Yeah. And if you want to donate before the event, I believe there's an email there, or you could just contact us.
Marie, maybe you should point out what it is we collect.
Yeah, the list that's true. We collect non-perishable items, obviously. Since it's around Christmas time, believe it or not, Christmas decorations.
Yeah.
I never thought of that. Tissues, toilet paper, hand lotions, chapstick. Everything has to have no scent.
Right.
Okay. What do you call it? Like no chocolate, no peanuts. You could do bags of chips. You could do what do you call it? Bars, like the Yukon bars, or like if something, you can have like they're looking for a more individual packaging. It's easier for them. Like some people brought cases of toilet paper, and that's fine. But if it's individual, it would be easier. for them to distribute.
And and for those who want to leave it up to you, they can send you a donation, and then you will purchase.
Yeah, we can do that.
What you need
Yeah,
to do.
yeah.
Okay.
So
That's
you
awesome.
can. I believe my email is on the save the date, or it's on the website, and they can email me, and we can meet up. But
Okay.
I don't mind collecting any time of the year, because it's all year for them.
Right.
Military. It's not just that one weekend.
Well, thank you both very much for taking your time to tell us about it, because reenactors is something that a lot of people don't understand, and you certainly have helped us understand it. So thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Mae? So, Mae, what do you think? That was good, wasn't it?
It was really good, really good. Rick brought back a lot of good memories that I've had when I've traveled with them.
Yeah.
It's a fun group. There's different parts of it, and it's nice. You meet all different groups. Always admire. I've been with the one that portrays Benjamin Franklin quite often, and that's so fascinating, because I always love Benjamin Franklin's stories, and just things that keep your life interesting.
It does, and you particularly like the guys in the foxhole, as I remember.
Yeah, that was funny. I love that. All I could think of is how they're going to go. Of course, they had to do that during World War II. It was snow. Well, look at that stone.
That's true.
They were covered with snow, so they had no choice. But at least we had a little choice in Valley Forge.
There you go. All right, then. I guess we're done for another successful podcast under our belt. I think we got the lighting situation looking better. So I guess it's time to power up, Mae.
Okay, power up, Deb.
Power up, we can do it. Thanks for joining us. See you next time.
Take care.